Hi guys, Righteous Raymond here, back again with a very important topic. I have a question for you all. Are you comfortable questioning your pastor? Are you comfortable with questioning your pastor when things in the church are inconsistent, hypocritical, contradictory to what he teaches you on Sunday morning or from what he preaches to you from the Bible? Are you comfortable questioning your pastor or holding your pastor accountable? Can you question your pastor? Can you hold your pastor accountable? Or is your pastor willing to be held accountable? Let's talk about it. So last week I did a video on the Latasha Perry trial. She was the young lady that was the mistress and unaliver of the predatory fake pastor Brodus Perry. Okay, so a lot of people were watching the video, got a lot of views when I put it on different social media pages. So I figured I said, okay, this is probably something that people are really interested in this topic. Okay, it was crazy. I mean, the hypocrisy was just crazy. How he was living one thing and portraying one image out in public. And then so some of you all know, I'm in school to be a pastoral counselor. So I had to meet for supervision with my supervisor because I do some counseling sessions. And if you want some counseling sessions, inbox me and I can set you up. We can meet virtually or in person, depending if I know you, we can meet virtually. I mean, we can meet in person if I already know you. So, and if I feel safe with you. So I talked to my supervisor and I said, Pastor, I have had instances where I was at churches and I grew up in like prophetic, holiness, charismatic, Pentecostal churches. So I said, I've been in churches supervisor where sometimes the pastor prophesies something or he invites a guest preacher who prophesies something and it does not come to pass. And sometimes you pay a big offering and you're shouting and believing God that you're going to get married this year, have a child this year, go back to school this year, become a millionaire this year. And then when the year is up, nothing happens. I said, what happens? And he says, well, a couple things can happen. He said, so when you have a question that's unanswered, it actually causes you pain. Did you know that when you have a question that you cannot get an answer to, like some questions that may cause you pain are, why did my loved one die? Or why can't I get pregnant? Or why come every man who I love leaves me? You may have a question in your heart that causes you pain, okay? And so what will quell or alleviate the pain is when you can ask somebody, usually with authority or something, knowledge and wisdom, the answer you can ask them for the answer to that question. And so the pain is caused by a question that is brought about because of something a leader, a church leader said or did. You go back to that leader. You go back to that faith community and you say, I got a problem. You brought a prophetess here, 2 years ago, and she said I was going to be a millionaire in 2 years. And here we are 2 years later, and I'm as broke as I've ever been. Or you brought a conference speaker here. He prophesied to me in the parking lot that I was going to be married. He said this 10 years ago, and I'm still single, never been married. What do you do with that? Those questions cause pain because your whole life is on hold waiting for this thing to come to pass that you really, really want. So my supervisor says, when you have a question that causes you pain that your faith leader exposed you to or caused you to have, you should be able to come to him with that question. Can you come to your pastor with questions if things don't come to pass? If your pastor says something and it don't come true, if he says, look at your neighbor and tell him you're looking at the next millionaire and it didn't come true. Does your pastor tell you your brother's going to go to court and be, he's going to be, what's the word? His case is going to be dismissed. Did your pastor tell you that the diagnosis you thought you saw was going to be gone on the next x-ray and it was still there and it was worse? You should be able to ask your pastor, Pastor, I need you to give an account for what happened. Now, if the pastor can give you an answer to that painful question, you can do two things. You will probably readopt your belief that your pastor is prophetic, your pastor is a true man of God, your pastor loves you, your pastor is not a charlatan, he's not a predatory pastor, he's not a wolf in sheep's clothing. You will readopt your belief that he's a good man, a good prophetic man that hears from God, and you will recommit to his ministry. You will readopt your belief that my pastor is a true man of God, he hears from God, he's prophesying the truth, and then you will recommit to his ministry. You will recommit to your relationship with this pastor, okay? But if your pastor refuses to give an answer If your pastor cannot give a sufficient, adequate answer to the painful questions in your heart, then what my supervisor told me, you will turn away from that faith tradition. So if he answers adequately, you will readopt and recommit. And if he does not answer adequately, you will turn away from that faith tradition. You may just leave that denomination. You may leave like the holiness movement, the word of faith movement, the miraculous healing movement. You may leave the prosperity movement. You may leave the evangelical movement. You may leave the Catholic tradition. You may leave the Pentecostal tradition. If this leader cannot answer adequately, maybe not the leader, but maybe a assistant pastor, maybe the mother board, maybe a deacon, maybe a youth pastor, maybe, a church counselor. If they can answer your question, you will stay. You will readopt their belief and you will commit. If they can't, you will turn away. But sometimes you don't. Sometimes they do not answer your question. Sometimes they tell you, be quiet. Don't question God. Don't question the man of God. Don't question our pastor. Go sit down and pray about it. They give you no answer to your question. And then you go back home. And some of you all, instead of you saying this is problematic, instead of you saying this is strange, this man will not answer my questions, because integrity welcomes scrutiny. Integrity welcomes scrutiny. I'm dating a man who I believe is very integral. He has a lot of integrity. So I brought him home to meet my extended family, and my sisters there too. And I said I'm in a room for all my aunts and cousins. And I said, y'all ask me any question y'all want. Ask me any question you want. Because he had such integrity, I knew that whatever they was going to ask him, I wasn't going to be embarrassed to answer. But I bet that some guys, where I knew I could never sit them before a crowd of people and say, ask me anything. So integrity welcome. People can ask me anything too, because I'm an open book. I'm honest. So if you can go to your pastor, who's supposed to be the most integral person that you know, and you can't ask him, Pastor, why did you tell me that when I sold that seed, I was going to be a millionaire and I'm still broke? Pastor, why did you tell me when I pay my tithes, the windows of heaven will be open, that I have room enough not to receive? That God will rebuke the devourer, and I'm just as broke as ever been, as sick as ever been. Pastor, explain these things to me, okay? Can you ask your pastor that? What happens when what you're being taught does not match your experience? Can you ask your pastor the hard questions in your faith tradition? Some of you all won't ask because you sit back and you say, my pastor ain't said me. My pastor go off on me. The last members who asked him a question, he went off on them too. I can't ask my pastor that question. So what you'll do is you'll say, you know what? The value that this community, this faith community, these church members, the choir, the ushers, the praise team, the pastoral staff, the value that they bring to my life, I don't want to lose that. And if I ask too many questions, they're going to ostracize me. If I ask too many questions, they're going to cut me off. So some people will sit there quietly and not ask their pastor any questions because they're afraid of losing the community. And if you're afraid of losing the community, you will never get the answer that you deserve to have. Now, I know they can't answer every single question, such as like, why did my loved one die? Why am I not a millionaire? Why did a man not marry me? They're not supposed to be psychics. They're not supposed to know everything. But if they teach you something across a pulpit and you don't see them living it, like, for example, if your pastor preaches against divorce hard for 10 years and he preaching against you because you got divorced, and then he gets divorced 10 years later, he got to give an account to that. He has to say, well, okay, I was against divorce and then I realized some stuff happened. If your pastor was against, your pastor said women who wear skirts are going to hell, and then you see he married a woman and she wear pants, he got to give an account of that. If your pastor has people coming to the church prophesying over you that you're going to be a millionaire, you're going to be a bishop, you're going to be married, and it don't happen, he got to give an account to that, y'all. He has to give an account to that. And if you are real with yourself, and if you have integrity, personal integrity, you will make some decisions based on his answer or non-answer. People have to give an account for their wayward teaching, for how they mishandle the word of God, how they misrepresent God and say, God told me. If your pastor tells you that the word's going to end in 2 weeks and the word's he going, he got to give an account to that. You got to ask the questions, even at the cost of community. You can find another safe, healthy community. Thanks for watching, guys. Bye.